Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyper Roll with Artark. This video I'm going to bring you one of probably the most hated build that I've seen in TFT so far, because people just get angry about it. And it isn't necessarily because this build is OP, it isn't. It's just how frustrating it can be to play against when you're going against a giant champion that you feel you have no chance of taking down. So obviously we're talking about Mecha Prime. And very quickly, I've mentioned before, as far as the carousel goes, I like to try to get the bow first, and that is because it fits into so many different builds. If you go through all the builds I've put up, you will see the bow is a key component in a ton of them, and it is a key component in this one. Now, one of the things with Mecha Prime is I don't like to go for it unless I get an absolute key sign from the gods that it's going to be worth doing, such as a JAX out of the NPC round. Then I will immediately go for a Tome of Traits if I'm offered it, because I want to get to 5 mechs as quickly as possible. So I'm really hoping for the mech augment, but no, it's not there. My fallback for this particular scenario is admin, and the reason is I like to build brawlers along with JAX, or really any of the super mech builds, because JAX is a key part of them. And so since Blitzcrank is an admin, I can create admin. Now the thing with admin is often you either get an admin only ability or one that counts for the entire team. I decide for some crazy reason to put the admin on JAX, thinking I was going to get an admin only augment. It offered on ally death admins heal 250, so I grabbed it, but I immediately regretted that choice because I really planned to make JAX my carry, and that slot would be far better served with a more effective item such as Rapid Fire Cannon, Titan's Resolve, or something else that will help make him strong. The next item choice, I have the opportunity for a Giant's Belt, so I can go ahead and put a Warmogs onto Cho, and since I'm using the threat to kind of make the team stronger, that's kind of the most logical step. I 2-starred the Lux just in case I'm not able to take this forward. It's always good to have a backup plan. Once I 2-starred the Wukong, I was able to get rid of the Lux, and I was fairly certain I was going to go forward with the original mech plan. I just know I'm going to have to get this admin augment off of JAX. That is not going to be optimal for him. It's going to require some stupid moves, but I got myself into it in the first place. And by stupid move, I'm talking about when I find an early JAX, I'm going to have to swap it out, put the admin crest onto Cho'Gath, and then give JAX back his Rage Blade. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get to a 2-star, but I think in the long run it will be worth it. Now, as I mentioned in my big giant video, a lot of people rush to make their mech early, so they wouldn't necessarily leave Blitzcrank in there. They would pull in Draven and then turn JAX into the mech. I find it better to hold it. It's time for our next item choice, and in a perfect world, I get the Rapid Fire Cannon and Titan's Resolve, so I decide to get the bow because I'm going to need 3 of them if I want to get that entire combination. Now back to the comment I made before about not making the mech too early. It's one of these senses that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you are winning, there is no need to rush to make the mech. Right now, we are doing a pretty good job of staying in there. We've only lost 1 early match, and we're holding on, so there's no reason to rush it. It's time for our next augment, and we get offered the JAX support augment. The reason it's support augment is because it applies to the entire team, where they will get 100% dodge chance for 2.5 seconds when they reach 50% health. The JAX carry augment would only apply specifically to JAX, but since this is the whole team, it's the support one. We got the items for the Titan's Resolve, so we go ahead and made that, but notice we are not paying attention to the game, which is telling us to choose a prime, but once you choose it, you can't go back, and I don't have a 2-star JAX yet, so I'm holding. And the reason is simple. Since I plan for JAX to be my carry, to give up 2 2-star champions just to make a giant 1-star champion doesn't make any sense to me. And as you can see, the champions are pretty strong as they are. So if you are winning, don't try to fix it. Item-wise, this is a really tough choice because what I really want is a rapid fire cannon so I can move JAX back. I'd rather him not be right in people's faces as he attacks, but nothing there is going to help me. I decide to go ahead and grab the sparring glove because that can work into a lot of different items down the line, such as a hand of justice or whatnot, that I can use if I don't get what I really need. I've also managed to 2-star the Cho and throw a Sunfire Cape onto him. Cho is really going to be the carry, at least for this early part of the game. You will see that he is able to do an amazing amount of damage, and again, this is why I don't necessarily get rid of the mechs really quickly, because notice it's going to be Draven who holds this together. If we had gotten rid of him, he wouldn't have been there to clean that up. Well, now that I've got a 2-star JAX, I should make the mech, right? Well, it depends. If you are falling down in the standings, if you're not on a super hot win streak, then yes, go ahead, make the mech and hope that it changes your fortune. But if everything is going well, don't mess with it, and at this point, there's no reason to mess with it. It's time for our next augment, and I probably should have taken Pandora's Bench. I would have had a really good chance of making 3-star champions, but I was so desperate for items that I rolled in the hope of getting item components of some kind. I got the item grab bag, and what I really need is the rapid fire cannon, and yeah, thank you, Ava. You got it. So this will allow JAX to step back. This is why I also like going brawlers. We're going to put 4 brawlers in front of JAX. Or 3 brawlers in front of JAX, I should say, because JAX is also a brawler, but this allows him to pick up speed and pick up power as he goes. Note, we still haven't made him Prime. One of the problems that we have with this build right now is that a lot of our frontline is made up of 1-star champions. They're brawlers, so they're adding to health, but they're still not as strong as they need to be to really hold things together. And the answer isn't necessarily to turn JAX into the mech right now. And this next match should show kind of why. Once you take the additional champions off the board, if things are able to do a lot of damage, even though they have stronger brawlers up front and are running the basic same comp, we're able to get through them just by overwhelming them with sheer numbers. For the next item choice, unfortunately, the phone rang in real life, and so I was distracted between 2 things. What I wanted to do is get rid of Draven because I've now brought in Set and I want to put the Thieves' Gloves onto Set. So even though I'm giving up the chance at a gold Draven, I felt that was the better choice. I grabbed the Locket to put on Wukong, because there is a chance I'm going to get to a 3-star Wukong, and then I can also put him in the middle when it's time to go mech, but that kind of messes up this whole next match. The shield only ends up covering a small part of the front line. A Draven gets pulled in from the bench. Now, on the good side of things, I am ultimately able to find a Leona once I start focusing again on the game, and that will be key going forward, but now is the time where I'm going to have to make a mech. Now, I'm going to show this whole part out because there's sort of an important way to do it. When you finally do decide it's time to make a mech, and now is the time, probably should have done it last round, but I wasn't really prepared. You want to make sure to position it so that it grabs the 2 champions you want it to. I want to make sure that Set and Leona stay on the board. I'm using Wukong just for the shield and Draven just to be absorbed by JAX at this point. Now, because I am doing this while being distracted with real life, I end up just throwing the item I didn't really need onto Leona. Didn't need a Rage Blade at that point. It wasn't going to help since my goal was to get Leona and Set in. It just tossed this match, and now I have to get off the phone and focus and roll through that 40 gold and see if I can make these champions into 2 stars. At the end of the next NPC round, I get a Dragon's Claw, which is an actually decent item for Leona instead of the Rage Blade and Quicksilver, which didn't really make sense. I wish I had saved more space on her, but I can always put that onto Sejuani. Sunfire Cape's always good in the front line. I grabbed an Urgot to add some extra damage because even though I like to have 4 brawlers, we just were not getting 2-star champions, and I'd rather have a 1-star threat than a 1-star brawler that's going to get mowed down. It's because of this team, really, that it happened. They were running the Brawler mech build, but we ended up pushing them out, and it got us into the top 4 and gave us a 2-star Urgot. Now that the JAXs are free, I was hoping to get to a 3-star JAX, but just wasn't enough time to roll through all the gold I had from that simple phone distraction. It's amazing what will happen when you get distracted in this game. Although even though I ended up getting distracted and basically through 2 rounds, I was able to get through and finish off this laser team with just enough health to secure the win and the entire match because our ghost took out the other champion. Go for mech if you get a clear sign, don't rush to build it. See how it goes first, and as always, hope you have an absolutely awesome day.